Donald Trump ironically accused Russia, China, and North Korea of conspiring against the United States. The American leader closely watched the historic military parade in China. His reaction to the events was sarcastic. On his social media, Trump wrote that he wishes Chinese leader Xi Jinping and the wonderful people of China a great and long day of celebration.
Please convey my sincerest congratulations to Vladimir Putin and the leader of North Korea, who are conspiring against the United States of America.
However, Trump was bothered by the presence of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at the parade. Before that, he expressed hope that Xi would remember the tremendous support and blood that the United States gave to China to help it secure its freedom from a very unfriendly foreign invader.
Many Americans died in China's pursuit of victory and glory.
Xi Jinping sent an important message to the West with a military parade that rolled through the ceremonial heart of Beijing, featuring fighter jets, tanks, and the latest examples of Chinese military technology. This is the largest display of power and diplomatic influence in recent years, writes the New York Times. The parade was attended by Chinese leader Xi Jinping, accompanied by North Korean and Russian dictators Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, as well as about 20 other leaders. It was a rare gathering of autocrats who positioned themselves in opposition to the US-led world order. Meanwhile, strikes on Russian oil refineries could force Putin to start negotiations as early as this fall, Politico writes. Ukrainian drones are systematically targeting Russian oil infrastructure, and in recent weeks this has put a significant portion of oil refining capacity out of commission, causing domestic shortages and pushing the Kremlin's most vital strategic industry to the brink of collapse.
The Kremlin was seriously alarmed by statements from US President Donald Trump, who was outraged by the parade in China. The American leader on his social network reminded Chinese President Xi Jinping of how the United States helped China achieve victory. Trump also asked to convey his warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, who, according to him, are plotting a conspiracy against the United States. After the statement by the American president, the Kremlin immediately began to justify its participation in the parade. Thus, Yuri Ushakov, an advisor to the Russian dictator, assured that the leaders of Russia, China, and North Korea were not plotting any conspiracy. In the video, you can notice the Kremlin representative's anxiety.
I want to say that no one was organizing any conspiracies, no one was plotting anything, there were no conspiracies. Moreover, no one even had such thoughts. None of these three leaders had any such intentions.
Ushakov immediately added that, in his words, everyone understands the role that the United States and Trump personally play in the current international situation. It is worth noting that on August 2nd, during a briefing, US President Donald Trump intrigued everyone with a statement about Putin. Answering a question about whether he had spoken with the Russian dictator in the past week, Trump replied that he had learned things that would be very interesting. He added that everyone would find out about this in the coming days. According to the Washington Post, the last straw for Trump in the matter of pressuring Putin to make peace may be a letter from his wife, Melania Trump, to the Russian dictator. It is noted that in the letter she urged him to make peace for the sake of the children who have suffered from the full-scale war he started. And it was Trump himself who personally delivered the letter to the Kremlin leader during a meeting in Alaska. The article reports that Putin responded to the letter with a massive strike on Kyiv, which resulted in the deaths of 25 people, including 4 children. This was an insult not only to the First Lady, but also to Trump himself. Russian dictator Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping discussed living to 150 years old. Bloomberg agency published the conversation between the two leaders during events in Beijing. In particular, Xi Jinping said that in the past people rarely lived to 70, but today, at 70, you're still a child. Putin replied that thanks to the development of biotechnology, human organs can be transplanted continuously, and people will be able to become younger and younger and even achieve immortality. In response to Putin, the Chinese leader said that, according to forecasts, there is a chance to live to 150 years in this century. As is well known, the Russian dictator pays close attention to his health and appearance. Plastic surgeon Dmitry Slosser notes that entire institutes of health, longevity and beauty work for Putin. In the expert's opinion, the Kremlin ruler not only resorts to plastic surgery but also uses other means.
There are also other methods, longevity methods related to genetic engineering, related to chromosomes, which allow to extend life in general. So in other words, living to 120 years is by no means the limit nowadays.
At the same time, political scientist and publicist Sergei Girnov notes that the Russian dictator has plenty of health problems. However, despite media reports that Putin has cancer, he looks quite well.
A person who is truly ill with cancer, you can see it. It's impossible to hide. But with Putin, you don't see it at all. And do you know where you don't see it? It's not even about his physique. It's not his face. It's his eyes.
The Russian dictator has body doubles. As Girnov noted, he needs them because Putin doesn't like appearing in public. You can tell them apart by their energy and the way they walk.
The meeting between Putin and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev did take place, but later, and it went very differently from how the Kremlin had announced it, reports the publication Agency News. Vladimir Putin and Ilham Aliyev crossed paths in the corridors of the event during the celebrations dedicated to the end of World War II in Beijing, as shown in a video published by the Azerbaijani TV channel Baku TV. As seen in the footage, Putin and Aliyev exchanged a brief handshake, after which Putin also shook hands with Aliyev's wife Mehriban. But no conversation started between them. The handshake between Putin and Aliyev stands in contrast to how the Azerbaijani president greeted the Uzbek leader, with whom he exchanged a hug and a few words.
All right.
At the beginning of Putin's visit to China, the press secretary of the Russian dictator, Dmitry Peskov, told journalists that the Kremlin hoped they would still have the opportunity to meet on the sidelines of the SCO summit. He said that such an opportunity would be available to the presidents. Later, presidential aide Yuri Ushakov told the press that footage of such a meeting never appeared. The encounter in the corridors before the parade was likely the first meeting between the two leaders since October of last year. In recent months, the Kremlin has been pretending that normal relations are being maintained between the leaders. Despite the serious conflict between the two countries caused by the crash of an Azerbaijani passenger airliner that was shot down by Russian air defense and the murder of 2 Azerbaijani natives in Yekaterinburg. However, footage of the meeting in China revealed a completely different reality. Viktor Orban has gone too far. The first sanctions against Hungary could be introduced as early as this fall. The European Union is so tired of Hungary's anti-Ukrainian policy that it is truly ready to punish it. This is reported by Unian, citing a Hungarian publication. The publication, in particular, refers to a significant shift in sentiment in Berlin with the arrival of the new chancellor. According to government insiders in Berlin and Budapest who spoke to journalists, Germany has already warned Hungary several times in recent months about the need to stop blocking aid to Ukraine. However, these warnings were not heeded, and this will have consequences. The authors of the article spoke with informed sources in Brussels, who said that irritation with Hungary has reached such a level not only in Germany, but also in the EU as a whole, that mechanisms are now actively being sought to neutralize the Hungarian government's veto on decisions regarding Ukraine, and at the same time to punish Budapest for its actions. At the end of August, it became known that Hungary was trying to block the provision of military aid to Ukraine using frozen Russian assets. Orban also spoke out against Ukraine's accession to the EU, claiming that its membership in the European Union would allegedly bring the war to the heart of Europe. In addition, the Hungarian Prime Minister called Ukraine a buffer state. Now, however, the EU is ready to punish Hungary. We're talking about freezing tens of billions of euros from the 7-year subsidy budget for Hungary. In particular, Budapest could lose all European agricultural subsidies, which would spell disaster for the Hungarian economy. Alongside the freezing of funding for Hungary's needs, the EU could also implement a mechanism to strip Hungary of its voting rights within the bloc. It is noted that until now it was Germany that blocked the implementation of this measure. However, the new German government has brought this issue back onto the agenda.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy stated that he will not give the Ukrainian Donbass to Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. He said this during a press conference in Denmark. According to the Ukrainian leader, even if someone supports the crazy idea of the armed forces of Ukraine withdrawing from Donbass, no one can guarantee that Putin will not continue his military aggression.
Putin has lied many times, so we cannot trust him or give him any territory. In any case,
the head of state noted that in 4 years of invasion, Putin has not managed to occupy even 30% of a single region in Donbass. Therefore, there will be no gifts for the aggressor country. The president of Ukraine also stated that he intends to clarify with US President Donald Trump in the near future exactly when the 2 or 3 weeks he gave the Russian dictator to reach a peace agreement will expire. Zelenskyy added that the West needs to keep pressuring Russia with sanctions and tariffs until it realizes that the war must end. Meanwhile, the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin stated during a press conference in Beijing that he is supposedly ready to meet with the president of Ukraine. According to him, he supposedly has never refused a meeting, as long as it is well prepared and will lead to positive results.
By the way, Donald asked me, if possible, to arrange such a meeting. I said, yes, it is possible. Well, in the end, if Zelenskyy is ready, let him come to Moscow. Such a meeting will take place.
It should be noted that despite his loud statements, Putin avoids dialogue with Volodymyr Zelenskyy. A number of world leaders believe that the Russian dictator is not ready for a personal meeting with the Ukrainian leader and will ignore any agreement with Trump during the negotiations in Alaska.